well, let's get started. Jeremy, our Community Development Director, is going to start things off. Jeremy, here we go.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. It's good to have such a good turnout for our first meeting of the Riverfront Specific Plan Community Coalition. If you don't know me, my name is Jeremy Pagan. I'm the Director of Development Services for the City of Reading. I've been with the city now almost 3 years, and this is an important project for our community. I'm excited to be a part of it, excited to hear from you all. So just by way of a quick introduction, this is our first of 4 meetings. We're going to have 1 more in October and then 2 more in November. You should have seen that on the press release. So this committee will be meeting a total of 4 times. In a nutshell, the existing Riverfront Specific Plan is over 30 years old. And so we're trying to update that plan, and community and stakeholder input is, of course, vital to that. And so that's why we're here. Right over here, Cameron. Front center. So of course, it's not just me here tonight. We have our consultant team led by MIG. They'll introduce themselves later. Myself, and then our planning manager, Lily Toy, who can't be here tonight, is working in this effort, as well as Jennifer Gannon. She's a part of the city team too. And so I'll have the consultant team introduce themselves a little bit later, but that's the project team. And so I just want to thank this 20-member panel for being here. There was a lot of community interest in this project, a lot of people we could have put on this coalition membership board here. And so I know it's a time out of your days and your volunteer efforts, so much appreciation to you. And thank you for the community for turnout too. This is a good turnout. We appreciate everyone being here to listen in and to provide their input. So we had a successful open house in August. We had over 200 participants at that open house down at the Civic Auditorium. We had somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 stakeholder interviews. Many of you were involved in those that are in this room now. And so now this is the next phase. So we've had our open house. We're trying to tee off from that open house event into these 4 coalition meetings to take what we heard from the community there and then move on to this next phase. So Daniel's going to talk through our purpose and what our objective is from this committee, as well as the framework and this meeting format. We're going to hear presentations tonight on the history, the current context, and the specific plan process as a whole. And then the main event, if you will be this group, this coalition group, discussing assets, challenges, and opportunities for the riverfront. And for those of you that are here from the public, towards the end of the meeting, we're going to have a public comment period as well. Well, you'll each have the opportunity to come up here and provide 3 minutes of public comment if you so choose. Do we have speaker cards for them? Okay, so we have blue cards in the back. At any time in this meeting, if you'd like to speak at the end as a member of the public, you're welcome to do so. Just fill out one of those, and we'll work it kind of like an informal commission hearing here. So with that, welcome again. Thanks for all of you for being here. Thanks to this commission for volunteering your time and being here tonight. Really appreciate it. And I'm going to pass it off to Daniel, who's CEO of MIG.
Very good. Thank you, Jeremy. And let's give Jeremy and the whole planning staff a round of applause, because they've been working really hard behind the scenes to make this happen. Again, my name's Daniel Isofano, one of the founding principals of MIG, and we were fortunate enough to be selected to serve as a planning consultant for this Riverfront specific plan for the city of Reading. And we do take it as an honor and a privilege to have this opportunity to work with all of you here in the community of Reading. And it's our goal to work with you to devise the best, most reflective plan that reflects truly the visions of the community members, all of you here, that makes up this diverse community, the Reading area. So with me tonight is Christine Thompson, our project manager, and also Dan Amsden, another principal with MIG out of our Sacramento office. We have a really big staff there, and that's really largely where we're supporting this effort. And again, for this evening, we're going to move quickly through some background materials. We're going to be dimming the lights here momentarily to allow you to see the slideshow. We are also live streaming this event. So that's the reason for all this equipment here. It's so we can get good audio and good visual material out onto the internet simultaneously. Because, you know, that's hard for people to make these meetings, but if they can do it online, so much the better. So that's the other reason for the microphones that you have around the table, because we've learned that in these hybrid meeting formats, it's often difficult for people to hear on the internet if they're not actually present in the room. So we're going to ask the coalition members to use the microphones. We'll do a little microphone tutorial. They're all offline right now, but we'll get those warmed up and started, and it'll be pretty seamless, I think. And there's one mic for every two community coalition members, so you can just share that, and that should really help with the folks who are working online. These meetings will all be live streamed. That was the interest of the city council, very much to make sure this is a fully transparent process from the beginning through the middle through the end. So we aim to make that happen. And so as we go through the presentation material, we'll have a chance for community coalition members to comment. As Jeremy said, that'll be a big part of the meeting tonight. We're going to give a background presentation just to get everybody up on the same page. And again, reinforcing the fact that we have no set plan. We're starting with literally a blank sheet of paper, as we said over at the open house at the Civic Auditorium. By the way, how many people attended one or more of those two open houses at the Civic Auditorium? Okay, how many people are new to the process who haven't been at one of our previous meetings? Okay, so we've got a number of folks here, which is great. We're going to keep building on the number of people participating. So we hope to get even more people involved than the few hundred that we've already touched base with. So just on the way of background, we're going to, again, go through this beginning part very quickly. We would like to have a quick round of coalition member introductions, just the self-introductions. And we'll talk about our purpose and framework, how we intend to operate. And there'll be a short presentation just on the area history and background, the planning process in particular. But most of the time will be on the community coalition discussion, and then afterwards with any public comments that you'd all like to make here this evening. And that should allow us to wrap up. So we're going to try to keep on our timeline, but like to see if we can go around and in the process get you familiar with the microphone. So to turn it on, you have to just hit that button in the middle, and when there's a green light, the mic is active. So could you all do that? Could you touch that button, hold it down a little bit, make sure the green light appears. When the light appears, okay. All right. All right, it's working. Okay. All right. So probably that one was feeding back over there. Let's see if we could just go around the room and have everyone just quickly introduce themselves. This being our first meeting, why don't we start over here with Danica and just say your name, your organization. At this point, that's just to get us started. Go ahead, please.
Sure. Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Danica Helgren and owner of Urban Retreat Day Spa.
Okay. Yeah, you have to kind of eat the mic a little bit. Keep it close.
Hi, my name is Garrett Miller, here to represent Reading residents.
Excellent.
Hello, my name is Jocelyn Olson. I'm a small business owner and residents both in Coutras Track.
Okay.
Baron Browning, Reading Rodeo Association.
Excellent.
Melissa Vusiak, and I'm here to represent the Garden Track.
Chris Koutras here to represent my family.
Okay.
Christina Prosperi with Caltrans, opposite Complete Street, so representing mobility.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Gary Rickard. I am the chairman of the Wintu Tribe of Northern California.
Fantastic. Okay.
Julie Dyer with Advanced Reading.
Ben Clausen, Director and Superintendent of Shasta Charter Academy.
Michelle Goddard, City of Reading Planning Commissioner.
Okay.
Ryan Hadrick with Reading Chamber of Commerce.
Great. Thank you.
Rebecca Ladrone de Guevara with Wintu Audubon Society.
All right.
Josh Devine, excuse me, Community Services Advisory Commission.
Okay.
Lindsay Myers, Turtle Bay and Sherton.
Todd Jones with the Shasta EDC.
All right.
Leslie Jesse with the McConnell Foundation.
Terry Jepson with the Fly Shop.
Cameron Middleton, Top Puncher Asphalt Cowboys.
Okay, fantastic. Microphones are all working, so that was the good first step. And it does really make a difference, I can assure you, for those folks who might be participating online. Okay, so we did the group introductions, and you can see all the people here represented on the screen, and there is a roster. There's a handout, and certainly for those of you not on the coalition, help yourself to the extra copies there on the back table. If we need more, one of the staff can make them in the course of the meeting, but all of the materials that we hand out will be online as well. So if you don't get copies tonight, you will definitely be able to get them in the future. And all of our meeting minutes and notes, I should say, will be also put online and be there for the community to review at any point during the process. So again, want to thank you on behalf of the city for your additional service here, 4 meetings. We hope to make them productive and efficient at the same time. And we're going to really call on you to help us sort out what we've been hearing from the community with respect to overall assets of this specific plan area, issues and challenges, as we like to say. Also, what your visions are for the future. And we've heard that already from the community in the meetings that we had over at the Civic Auditorium. But we want to continue that conversation. We want to make sure we're getting it right and that we are truly representative of the different viewpoints represented here, but also in the community at large. So our project team members, just to again highlight, we have all of the project staff project team members from the city staff. And you heard from Jeremy Pagan, the Director of Development Services, and then the staff are all there. Our MIG team is listed here. In addition to Christine, Dan, and myself, we have Bridget Brown and Edward Sampson. And then we have excellent project consultants here from Tawa, Wanda Dalla Costa, and Alex Webster, who both of whom have been participating in our staff meetings as well in the open house meetings as well. So just to, again, highlight our framework and operating principles, we do want to use the opportunity, as I said, to develop a vision statement. All of this information, by the way, will eventually be collated. As staff will be making sure that we get a draft statement of vision, purpose, and direction from all of you at a very broad scale. We're not asking for you to develop the plan. This is really just the front end of the whole process, which is going to take anywhere from 12 to 24 months to complete. So this is only the beginning of the process. It was our recommendation that we start with this kind of open process to get the ideas flowing and start at the very big picture. What's the vision? What's the possibilities for this area? And eventually all of that will go out to the community at large for further review, discussion, and feedback. We'll be asking for what areas you see in terms of future uses in areas of preservation and or rehabilitation. Some people may say, hey, we like it the way it is, just leave it alone. But also there may be ideas for how we can improve habitat, recreation opportunities, could be more possibilities for housing in and around. We've heard all of those things already from the open community meetings that we've held. There'll be a process ultimately to assess how feasible these ideas are. So there is an economic component to the study. It can't be just a wish list of what we would like to see, but it all has to work from an economic standpoint, as well as from an environmental, compliance standpoint. So there are rules and regulations that we have to follow as being good planners as well. And ultimately, we'll have a vision and guiding principles document coming out of this coalition process. We do abide by these operating principles and talking about transparency. That's uppermost in the minds of the city council. So we aim to really implement that. And that's why we're having these open meetings and the streaming here so everyone can participate who wishes to do so. Equal participation and inclusivity. We want to make sure all ideas and viewpoints are heard, are listened to, respected. I thought, by the way, the open dialogue we had at the Civic Auditorium was a fantastic beginning. I mean, not everybody agreed with everything, but it was just a good atmosphere. People were really willing to share their ideas. Everyone listened and in a respectful tone. I think that really bodes well for the process overall. And then all the meetings will be facilitated. We're here to help you And you'll give us feedback too in terms of our process. If there's ways that we can improve on the process, you will let us know, and we will try to take those ideas and suggestions into account as we move forward. Just another way to visualize the overall process and to emphasize the fact that there's a lot of public input opportunities throughout. We're going to have these major reports and analyses all the way through our multi-phase process, from our kickoff and visioning phase, which is what we're in now. There's going to be an analysis and opportunities phase. We're going to be developing plan concepts and ultimately a specific plan and environmental impact review document coming out the other end. So along the way, these documents will be produced by the technical team as we start to hear the vision and direction and guiding principles that are developed here and with the community at large. So that's represented by those 4 community coalition meetings, 4 meetings of this, and it's right at the very beginning. We're going to have a lot more community discussions and events all the way through. We had the open houses. There's going to be pop-up workshops. We're going to have community design charrettes, and there'll be other draft plan workshops and discussion all the way through. So as you can see, every one of those circles represents another round of meetings, not just one meeting. And then as we wrap it up, there'll be meetings with the city commissions and the city councils all the way through until we get to the end at some point after phase 4. So there's a lot of work ahead. And again, emphasizing we are at the very beginning of this process. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dan, who's done a lot of work on the background here. He's going to take you quickly through some of the history and current context that sets the stage for our planning effort. So Dan Amsden is going to take it.
Great. Thank you, Daniel. And thanks everyone for being here tonight, and especially the coalition members. Really appreciate your time as part of this process. And today we also need to recognize today is Indigenous Peoples Day, as now a federal holiday, but also really thinking about the full history of this area. And we want to start by first, of course, acknowledging this area and the Rain Riverfront has been inhabited for millennia by Indigenous tribes and people, but they're also still here and a part of the community as well. So thinking about that as definitely a starting point in the context of the history of this site. These slides are a little bit more recent, late 1800s, but thinking about the land grant and some of the changes when the Spanish came here, but also the gold rush as well. All of these had a dramatic impact on the history of not only Reading, but also this area. And zooming into a little more context on the riverfront area in particular, we pulled, again, just some of this background historical mapping, but this is 1885, as you can see on the lower left hand. Reading is right there as a little grid, but a railroad post and really a starting point for the ag economy, mine economy. 1941, not a lot has changed. 1958, though, there was a major change, and that was Shasta Dam. Major federal project, obviously part of the California water system and agricultural system, but also very disruptive to not only native Wintu areas and lands, but also this project area as well. And again, as a background context, a lot of folks may know this, but for folks watching the live stream as well, the riverfront area was actually an aggregate mine, and gravel was taken from this area and used to build the dam. So even though the dam is pretty far away, the longest conveyor belt in history, I think at the time, was taking a lot of this area and land literally away from the riverfront to build the dam, which caused disruption. Here we're going back to 1901, and you can see the riverfront area. But as the dam was built, the ponds were created after the aggregate was taken away. So that created this very unique form and character that we're going to talk a lot about as these coalition discussions, but also Highway 44 coming through as well and sort of bisecting this area. Also, again, just thinking of sort of the physical context and the evolution of the riverfront. So now we look essentially today, and we have a combination of the river coming down. There we go, the eastern side, but also the ponds, and again, this very interesting system of waterways and habitats, some natural, some not natural, but a lot of habitat for animals regardless, but also very dramatic scenery and dramatic area. as well as obviously development and projects like the rodeo, like the convention center, other development, the Sundial Bridge. And so as Daniel mentioned and Jeremy early on, we are starting with, this is literally a blank map. This is existing buildings and assets today. We'll mark it up as part of this evening, but want to give a little background and just sort of quick orientation of what we mean by the riverfront area. So as you can see on this map, the project area for the specific plan is everything shown within this sort of dark boundary. So we have a combination of more tourist recreational amenities like the Turtle Bay Exploration Park. We also have destinations and lodging like the Sheraton Hotel, other historic areas. But within this project area, there's also housing and residential as well. So it's not just the city or the public properties. There's a mix of a lot of things. And as we move towards the southern riverfront, we get more into commercial uses, office, retail as well. And so this really is covering this whole area. And that's, as I'll mention in a little bit, that's the intent of a specific plan, is you look at the whole area as a whole and really start thinking about planning and connections, infrastructure, but also mobility as part of this effort. And as we go through this visioning conversation and start crafting ideas in the community, and all of you start crafting ideas, we also have a deep bench of other consultants like civil engineers, traffic engineers, economists, who can start looking and analyzing things as we go through it. But a big part of the riverfront is connections, bike and pedestrian mobility, access to the environment, access to natural areas, but also connecting this area to downtown or other neighborhoods. And how do we efficiently get in and out of the neighborhood, in and out of the area? We've already heard some challenges from the community around circulation, so that's definitely a key part of this. This map is showing at the top here in the blue and green, a little bit at the bottom as well. The blue is publicly owned property. So largely the city of Reading, but that would also be if the state or other public agencies own property. And the green is public, but more designated as open space or parks area. We wanted to add this to the map just to show sort of the context about the amount of public land that is within the project area. So this includes, especially in the northern riverfront areas around the river, the water and the ponds. It does also include roads and major infrastructure like Highway 44. It's a Caltrans facility, but it's a public facility. And different connections of surface roads, overpasses. This is also part of the public property, so to speak, or the public realm. Civic Auditorium is a big piece, as well as the rodeo ground, City of Reading owned facility that's leased to the rodeo and holding major events, obviously, throughout the year. So Daniel showed a simplistic diagram. This is the full schedule, and I apologize, it's a bit of an eye chart, but it is on the website. But the point of this is to show there is a lot of community engagement activities, but also a lot of analysis and reports and technical work that we'll be doing as we go throughout this process. So I just want to highlight, there's sort of two key bands. This upper band is all of the community engagement. And these are going to be done in sort of 4 different series. We had the initial open houses, this coalition process, but then each of these green circles represents multiple events during key milestones of the project. This bottom bar is showing those key milestones. Essentially right now we're in discovery and existing conditions, analyzing the different infrastructure and systems, but the team is also working on a cultural study and a biological resources study, and those are going to be presented at our next coalition meeting. So a lot of data collection, fact finding, that's going to move into vision guiding principles, which then goes into thinking about alternatives and options. That's where a lot of the analysis comes in, but it's how the point of the analysis is to help inform the decision-making process of this coalition, but also the community and council, ultimately getting into more details of the specific plan itself. And a specific plan, many of you may be familiar with the recent downtown specific plan the city undertook. It is a planning document, but it covers infrastructure, circulation, natural environment, preservation, enhancement, all these different topics the city wants to include in it. But as part of this process, we'll also be doing an environmental impact report as part of CEQA. So analyzing potential environmental impacts. All of this is as a way to refine different policies or strategies before it ultimately goes to the council for review and approval. What's also important is this project is not running in a vacuum unto itself. So there's other city projects like the recently completed downtown specific plan, which calls for connections to this area, bike, ped, circulation connections. But also the city is currently doing the Park Marina Corridor Plan, which covers Park Marina Drive, which goes through this specific plan area as well. So we're working with staff to make sure community input and ideas from that process also flow into this process as well. And then the big one is the overall city policy document or guiding policy document for the next 20 years, which is the general plan. And so the general plan sets the high level policy for the whole city. This specific plan gets into the details, how that's implemented, how that's done, how the community would like to see a change over time. We also, as we mentioned quite a bit, but again, a little more detail, we do have a very robust community engagement program as part of this overall project. And this is just showing the different ways or goals we're put onto ourselves as part of this process. We want to be high touch and high tech. What that means is things like live streaming right now, recording the meetings, online surveys, but also a lot of face-to-face meetings, in-person workshops, combination of both, and really making sure this is an inclusive, flexible, transparent process as we go through it. So these are just some examples from other projects, but we're going to use a lot of different sort of methods to make sure we can reach as much of the community as we can. This is a strong charge we have from council. So we're excited about it, but also have a lot of work. So you'll be seeing a lot of us over the next few years. But one key thing I did want to mention, we now have a new project website that is up and running. It is readingriverfront.org. It launched actually last week or about a week and a half ago. This is going to be a one-stop portal for everything related to this project. You'll be able to go in, look at every document, community coalition meetings, all of your materials, agendas will be here as well. I did want to mention for folks in the room and also on the live stream, we do have a share your ideas component where you can submit comments. We're going to get those posted soon as well and working with our IT folks. But since we launched late last week, I think we have about 5 or 6 comments already that have been submitted over the weekend. So that's great. And we're looking forward to many more ideas as well. But we did have the open houses in August, as Daniel mentioned, really good turnout, lots of ideas, lots of input. I just want to highlight a few things. When we're talking and sort of building upon this or expanding this tonight as part of the coalition, but some of the things we talked about during the open house, what are sort of the key assets of this area? Well, the Riverfront Parkland, access to open space, the natural beauty, it came up over and over again through discussions, trails and walking paths, but also we heard a lot about supporting and celebrating local culture and the history of this area and unique attractions, the Reading Rodeo Ground and the events that take place here, all really key assets we want to build upon as we go through this process. As it is with anywhere, there's always challenges as well. We really like to think about these and have discussion with the community early on. Not unsurprising, protecting the natural environment and open space areas was also seen as a key challenge or a key concern. But ensuring that there's an appropriate, transparent planning and design process, this is really starting, was also a concern that came up. But other things more technical like traffic and parking and access and how you get in and around the area. Increasing amount of trees and shade, especially in paved areas, protecting indigenous cultural resources that are part of this as well, and supporting and maintaining the rodeo. I'm not going to go through all these bullets, you can see them here, but again, these are the key themes that really started to come up. So from the open houses, we also talked about opportunities or really what's the vision for the future? What does success look like? Restoring the natural habitat, enhancing public access and use of natural areas. And I think there's a little bit of a back and forth on, well, what's the right balance of that? How does that work without degrading natural environments? Establishing clear standards and uses. So I guess the technical side is the specific plan, but I think it gets to having some certainty around what happens in the future, and the specific plan process really providing building this or continue to build it as a local resource, supporting the rodeo, engaging tribes, also seen as really key. I will keep going. Hopefully we don't lose internet on this. But we also had a lot of community interviews as well. A lot of folks in this room we had one-on-one interviews with. These are some of the key themes that came out of that. Very similar to the open house as well. You know, celebrating the history, the culture, existing attractions and infrastructure, and really sort of the destination themes was seen as a key asset. But also finding a range of projects and activities. So recreation, habitat restoration, maybe some incremental new development as well, but really making sure it fits the character and context of the area, but also larger Reading community as well. Similar challenges, parking, also the size, age and size of the current venues. So some of the limits just to the age and sort of functionality of venues. We also heard a lot about just sort of general safety concerns and different ways the city can help sort of improve safety or work with homeless or reduce crime. But that was also sort of a theme here as well as something to think about strategies as we work through this. But also a lack of a cohesive vision. So that's a big part of this process is trying to address that head on. Vision opportunities, again, expanding open space, access to parkland, restoring natural environments. There was some discussion around limited mixed-use developments or things that complement the area, housing, restaurants, offices, stores. So a range of different ideas. We also heard a lot about family-friendly uses and activities as well. So I was providing some context on the type of uses. So again, just kind of an overview, background, make sure we're all on the same page. I know Daniel will turn the lights back on and then we'll start a discussion.
Okay, that was a quick review of the last couple months of our starting up process. And then we have Christine here to manipulate our cameras so we can hopefully show folks what we're doing. We're actually talking with them through the internet as well as here in this room. So that's an added advantage here for the meeting process that we've set up. And we really want to engage all of you coalition members here. And later through the community comment period, any of you here attending that are not on the coalition, we want to hear your thoughts as well. And towards the end of the meeting, we'll have time set aside. And if you want to make your comments known tonight, you can do it with a speaker card. We'll call you up and you can get your 3 minutes as is customary here at the City of Reading. And we'll add that into the record of tonight's meeting. You can also go online, as Dan showed you, and enter comments there. And at every point, we'll be looking at that and collecting those comments and adding them into the mix as we go along. So with that, we're going to open it up and we'd like to hear from every coalition member what you see as critical assets, key things we want to preserve or protect, some of the challenges, the things you are most concerned about, what we can fix to make it better, and then your ultimate vision for the future. So if you can handle any one or more of those three general topics, I think we'll go around the room and hear each of you on the coalition, your thoughts. Dan will take some notes here. We're also recording the meeting as well, so we'll have a good record and should be able to perfect our summary of the meeting tonight using that record provided by the Zoom application. So we'd love to have someone start us off. Eventually, we want to hear from everybody around the table. So who would like to begin with your take on the area? What you think are some of the most important assets, critical issues to address, and ultimately long-term visions. Is that, Melissa, are you inching toward the microphone?
Sure, I'll start.
Okay, go ahead.
Just a little context. I moved here in 2005 from Denver, and I spent a lot of time commuting, and as a lot of people do in big cities. And one of the things I love about where I live, Garden Track, is that I can walk or ride my bike everywhere. So that's a big thing for why I decided to stay where I live. I have a very small house, 1,152 square feet to be exact. And my husband and I decided to stay there, remodel, pimp it out a little bit. And it's very affordable. So something that's big for me is biking. I know a lot of you might think, oh, it's Reading, but just connecting what we have We have a lot of positive press from the trails. I think the Sacramento River Trail was voted one of the best trails. Hall of Fame. Woo woo. We get a lot of negative press too. And so I think we should accentuate and lean into some of that. I've even walked to work, which I live up in the Riverbend area, up on Hempstead through the Dana to downtown. So it's just not biking, it's walking, connecting. It's good for our mental health. So I'm a big fan of that. I do have a question for the Reading Rodeo folks. How many events do we have there? Just one, like in May? Oh, okay. I'm just asking.
We had the Stillwater powwow.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So there's multiple events through the year.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably around 10.
Okay. That's good. I've learned something.
And that's not including the stuff that goes on, barrel racing, practices.
Yeah.
So there's, I mean, typically throughout the season when it's not rainy, you're probably doing something 2 or 3 nights a week.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Go ahead.
No, it just seems like a good place. I will also want to admit, I've never been to the rodeo. I am not anti-rodeo, but I've walked through there and ridden through there, and it seems like like there's multiple events, and I'd love some modernization, and I'm sure they would too.
Sounds like you've worked out a nice, easy, low impact lifestyle with walking and biking, and from where you live, it's easy to get around.
I mean, I spent 2 hours commuting prior to moving to Reading, and now my commute is 5 minutes, or I can make it 15 for biking or 30 for walking.
Okay,
So
very good. Thank you very much. Who else
So
would-
I want to follow up on that.
Chris? Okay.
Oh, Greening's on. Okay. So I think what she brings up kind of accentuates what I'm thinking about, and that's connection.
Connections.
Okay, and the connections to me should be balanced. And what I learned when we had the community,
Open house.
yeah, that there are a lot of young people here, over and over it came up, that want to socially interact. And I think the Kutrus property is a great place to do that.
Okay.
We have tourism opportunities. Speaking of the Hall of Fame, you saw in the article about the fishing industry.
Yes.
And we're number 5.
And what type of fish?
Pardon me, trout.
Trout. Okay.
It's very active. I think fine dining, trails, a balance.
Okay.
And good, I think we need housing, absolutely. But something where people can come that enhances tourism, but not forgetting our citizens.
Okay.
So there's several things that should go on down there.
And those
We have
things-
serenity all around us, and I think we need to have some fun.
And those things can coexist in your mind, it sounds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, very good. Thank you. All right, we're gonna get to everybody. Is it Jocelyn?
It is, Jocelyn. So I live right across from part of Chris's property,
Okay.
and I'm a small business owner. I run a music studio downtown and out of my home. So I had 60 private students this last spring, and consistently the parents were concerned about the homeless and the people walking down Athens and Park Marina, and the safety because the people drive insane through there. I would love, in terms of biking and community, we have the McConnell Foundation and everything with the parks right across the 44. Why can't we extend that and have more arts and culture across in the Kutrus portion, and use the old movie theater, remodel it and make it a kids hangout? You could even turn it into an adult hangout in the evening, kids till 10, and have a super fun like Oasis Fun Center right in town that is right next to Kutrus Park. You could have a beautiful amphitheater and have live music. We have 2 beautiful symphonies in Northern California between the Shasta Symphony and the North State Symphony. We should be having live summer or spring concerts, since it's a little hot here. And I'm also a born and raised resident here. I moved away to Southern Oregon University in Ashland and lived there for 15 years. So I spent every Thursday going to the Ashland City Band. I worked in the for the university running their recital hall in the arts and management. So the culture up there and the community engagement of having arts right in the park and downtown, and cut Park Marina in half, put it to 2 single lane, have biking paths on either side so that people can enjoy the river and enhance the beauty so that it's not just tall brown grass, like let's really draw the attention down there so that people want to come down there. One of my favorite memories, 2 favorite memories, feeding the ducks with my grandmother when I was a little kid, as well as playing mini golf in the park. Those are by far some of my most fondest memories. And now we have nothing for kids down there. I mean, the ducks are still there, but let's enhance those things and bring kids back down there.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, who would else like to go next? Around the table here. Eventually, we're going to ask you all to participate. Your thoughts? Okay, Rebecca?
I guess I'll segue with the ducks.
That was the
Yes.
hook.
So as part of the Audubon Society, our main concern is that the environmental, that CEQA is followed, and that the environment, and there, just in the riverfront, there's hundreds of species of birds, some of them with special designation, and there's a bird sanctuary there. Yeah. Liberty, yeah, we have our own eagles. So yeah, and there's a bird sanctuary along there. So of course, all of those are important to us. And so we just want to make sure that all renovations and development follows CEQA and keeps everything green and pretty for the birds.
So on the documentation regarding the bird species, I assume your organization has all that information available?
Yes.
Because we have our environmental consultants on our team too, that we would like to make contact with you, your organization. Perhaps we can.
Yes, it's all actually in the Cornell University, the app. When people go to the Turtle Bay Sanctuary, to the bird sanctuary, everyone records the species. So it's all recorded. And that's how we know that we have about 196 species that people have recorded there. And you could see the ones that have special designation, like the bald eagles.
So it's just another unique asset of this area, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. All right, let's hear from some other folks. Baron?
Sure. First of all, the Reading Road Association obviously wants to modernize. That was one of the statements made. We have to get through the Surplus Land Act in this process to start, going down that path. But that's absolutely our goal. And our goal is to team up with others and have big outdoor concerts or something, whatever the public is interested in having, and partner agencies to go along with us to do those things. But super important to us is obviously the history of the area that we live in, the history of the rodeo grounds and tradition of the rodeo. Now in our 75th year, and over 600 rodeos go on, and there's been 32 inducted in the Hall of Fame, and we were inducted in 2016. So we are here, we are real, this is a foothold for us. We want to continue that, but we also want to be part of the community when we do that. And I think we do that through, many avenues. But some of our bigger concerns, I'm sure along with many others, is, access in and out of the area, a secondary access for those coming and going. Obviously, parking is at some point could be an issue. McConnell has, a piece of the land where we park now. What does that look like in the future? What is McConnell's plans in the future? We don't know what those are, and I don't know if they know yet either, but those are obviously concerns of ours as we go on with this and go further down the road.
And I understand from talking with some other rodeo association members, the desires to upgrade the facilities ultimately.
Yeah, I said modernize. Yes.
Yeah, modernize so that you could do more of these events and more creative things with the facility you have there.
Yeah, other concerns we have obviously is public safety.
Mhm.
You know, that the going on that goes down there now with some people in the area that continually break into our property along with others.
Mhm.
I know from the fishing side, a lot, talking with some of the fishermen that go down there, they feel a little unsafe leaving their vehicles there. I think that's an issue, you know, moving forward as well. So I
Okay.
think, and I also concerned about, you know, those that want to come down and have access to that area. That's super important to us too, to have access to that area, to the, you know, to the waterfront area, but also the safety of those people that are coming down there.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, let's go to Todd next.
Yeah, I think my perspective in just going through like looking at a specific plan and what the purpose is,
Mhm.
I would say my kind of main viewpoint in economic development that I look at this through a specific plan is how do you create a document in a specific plan that enables development to happen? I work with projects all the time in Shasta County, and a lot of things in California, specifically in Shasta County, don't pencil.
Mhm.
So how do we create a document that's going to enable something to happen? Because in Startup Reading, which I also work in, we have a saying that ideas are inherently worthless. You have to figure out a way to make it actually happen.
Right.
So I kind of view the viewpoint on specifically on the north end, you know, that's public land. There's only so many government dollars to go around. How does that actually
Mhm.
get transformed? And on the south end, Mr. Kutrus's property, you know, how do we do a specific plan that's going to enable him to develop that property and for people to be able to make money? Because if people don't make money, it doesn't work. So how can we create a document that is going to empower him and these properties to actually see the transformation we want to see?
Yeah, something that creates opportunity for that new investment to come in while still keeping with the environmental character and the assets like people have talked about. I think you see those as being compatible goals ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we all, at some degree, whatever our visions are, we want to see something happen on these properties. And it's certainly a balancing act to get these things to all come into alignment.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, they have to be financially feasible to
Mhm.
see some type of transformation happen.
Okay, very good. Yeah, thank you. All right, I'm looking for the next green light on the, even though I can't see, so you'll have to raise your hand. Julie, go ahead.
So just to piggyback really on what everybody else has been saying so far, I think one of the common thread across these assets is actually the capacity for multi-purpose, which
Mhm.
from an economic standpoint is also really important because then that gives us the privilege of paced and measured development and growth.
Mhm.
I don't know that necessarily anybody's talking about outlandish, outrageous ideas that Reading's not ready for yet, maybe sometime in the future. But even just talking about the civic auditorium, the fact that we do multiple things in one building, diverse streams of income, that's part of what makes that building still have a life. If it was a single purpose building,
Mhm.
we would be having very different conversations and then even activating the lawn as we've done this past summer, past couple summers actually for outdoor concerts. There's definitely more that can be done, but we're also still a, semi-rural community, the biggest one in this section of Northern California,
Mhm.
but still that large geometro circle of population, we got to go out pretty far to get to 500,000 people. So
Mhm.
there's an economic aspect to these things. And when we start dreaming and planning of how do we set this plan up to support a 5-year decision, a 10-year decision, and a 20,
Mhm.
and hopefully launch then the next specific plan for the next 50 years.
Excellent. And you highlighted the idea of facilities that are multi-purpose. Given the costs of construction and everything, we're looking to maximize those kinds of investments, I think. And you see that in all the venues that are built around America, small, medium, or large. People want to do more with them. Just like the rodeo saying, we have this venue, we can do more if there were certain elements there that allowed for different kinds of events to take place. So multi-purpose, values, I think, seems to be a theme here. So let's hear from additional folks. Okay, Lindsay.
Well, being, representing Sheraton, obviously having those events in that campus, if it's the rodeo grounds or, the concerts or the basketball tournaments or all of the events that's happening there, you know, anything that continues to modernize those facilities or grows their capacity or makes them more multifunctional would definitely be something that I think would be worth exploring. We get over 1,000 visitors a day to the Sundial Bridge. And so, I mean, it is a very large amount of foot traffic and car traffic, vehicle traffic that goes through that space. And when there are events, the access points and the parking is definitely a concern along with safety. So just keeping that, you know, I think in top of mind would be important. It's a beautiful space. I think, you know, the nature elements of that campus is fantastic and needs to be protected. You know, talking about the bird sanctuary and even just the riverfront itself. But the more people, either visitors and locals that can enjoy that space, I think would be great.
Great. Again, okay, we're hitting some resonant themes here along the way. First, I want to get everybody in before we go to people a second or third time. All right. Yeah, Garrett, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to start by kind of reading what you and Jeremy had talked about regarding the open house. We had a tremendous, outpouring of interaction with the community, a incredible foundation to build off of, and so much that got brought up. One thing that I saw that, I'd like to reiterate is that, we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel here. There's a lot of places we can look to find inspiration. And, people brought up Reno and Bend and different places like that. And, one thing, as a resident of this area my entire life, I've always felt that the riverfront has been underutilized. And to see something come of this, and piggybacking on what Todd said, bringing in viable, businesses and revenue generators to, bring about long-term viability. That's something, I hope that the things that come out of this, last way into the future. I hope to enjoy these things for, 50 years. And then, picking back on Barron, we have some incredible assets with the Reading Rodeo Grounds, and a renovation could do wonders, and it could be a magnetism for local businesses. I remember seeing Brooks and Dunn there when I was a kid, and we get incredible acts to come into the Civic, even though, it's not the best venue in the world, but, it's this community has, such a great spirit. And when you have people come in, they recognize that and they want to be here. And we're in such an incredible location, basically halfway between Portland and San Francisco. And, this could really be a destination. So, but there's definitely the challenges and I think transportation and traffic, parking, I'd love to see if we could maybe look at something on the north side of the river, promote foot traffic across the Sundial Bridge. We have that open space over there. I don't know if that can be utilized. I know that's outside the scope of this, but there's a lot of things that I think, can be done with this plan. And I'm excited to see where this goes, but I think we have a great foundation. I look forward to building on that with all of you guys. And yeah, I think it'll be a great opportunity.
Now, you mentioned Brooks and Dunn. Didn't they do that song, My Marie?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Such a great tune. Ready to start playing it.
Yeah. No, an open air venue. That's it's essential for the area. And I think but revamping it and turning it into a premier venue that brings people in to, enjoy the area, stay at the Sheridan. Bring people to these local businesses. And really just introduce them to, this community and our spirit. I think that's, what this is all about.
Yeah, this idea of sense of community gathering, events, there's a lot of things, a lot of common themes coming out here in the conversation so far. How about over on this end of the table? Okay, go ahead, Terry.
I think we've hit a lot of good points here. The challenges down there, of course, is there's no lighting, there's no safety. I think Jocelyn said it best by eliminating 4 lanes and turning it into 2 lanes with bike lanes would be the best thing down there. But the other concern of doing all that is where's the parking? Because there's no parking areas down there. And if you take up a bunch of space with parking, we're just kind of eliminating
we're going right back to not using the river for what it should be.
Mhm. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
The movies 8, you've got the old Montgomery wards, which is now a bunch of the government
Okay.
agencies. All of those parking lots are almost empty all day long.
Well,
I would
that's-
agree.
So that's a bunch of parking that's never utilized, but they're also not.
yeah,
That's
well,
part
that's-
of it. And part of my next part was we need to add a lot of lighting and a lot of safety down there. Because most
Okay.
of the transients don't want to be where people are. That's why when Kim finished the Nurpon Park, she was like, everybody go there. Because that'll keep them away. And you add lights, you add people, they go away.
Yeah, actually, more people makes it safer, eyes on the street, more better lighting, all those things are proven to be very successful in that regard. Yeah, okay. Let's see, who else? Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
When you were recapping the workshops this summer,
Right,
it just renewed my admiration for our community
yes.
because they really summed it up well, the
They did.
strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities. So
Mhm.
one thing that I heard there a lot was that we need more activated space, that we need family oriented
Mhm.
activities. So I would like to see some expansion of the fishery, the access and emphasis on the fishery,
Mhm.
as well as the water sports there. You know, that's a launching pad for kayaking and rafting
Mhm.
and I think we should build upon that to create activities that could be world class, that
Yeah.
people would come here to kayak, you know? So I think that would be good. In terms of safety, what I'm not hearing is on the north side of 44, there's only one way in and out of there.
Mhm.
And that's fine if everything's going well. But if there's an emergency or something that happens, some terrible thing that happened there during a big event,
Mhm.
there has to be other ways out of there.
Mhm.
And I don't know if the Sundial Bridge provides enough to that.
Mhm.
And this may be better suited for the Park Marina Drive corridor plan. But if you look at that strip of Park Marina there, it's very narrow.
Mhm.
So I hope they're considering some kind of realignment
Mhm.
that would broaden the available space between Park Marina Drive and the river
Mhm.
to give us a larger space for an amphitheater or some kind of development in that respect. And I think in terms of mixed use, we need to plan for retail. We need some upscale, nice retail down there. We need to be looking at this. This has to pay for itself in the end. So we need some sales tax generation
Right. all
and
those
things like
things.
that. Yeah.
Well, as Dan said earlier in his brief presentation too, we know these other planning efforts are going on and we will be mutually influencing those efforts as we go through this process. That's for sure. It's one city and they all have, all these plans have to come together. So, all right, let's go to Ryan next.
I'll probably be repetitive here, but
Okay.
I think that the key is really focusing on that river corridor and biking as well. There's a lot of money that comes in from outside the community for both of those.
Yeah.
Being an active fly fisherman and knowing how much money is generated from the fly shop, we need to look at that. And then also even the biking trails, it's amazing the amount of people from out of the area that bring in money. And I think there's a good balance of developing the land and also focusing on the beauty of those elements. So that's key. But I also, as everyone else has said, I mean, the feasibility is critical with commercial development. So I think that's, retailer, but also the experiences that we need as far as food and just different activities down there that the city and so forth can look at as well.
Well, that's certainly, again, a theme coming out, this idea of active family recreation, places for young people to gather, the outdoor sports like fishing, bicycling. We've got some unique assets to really take advantage of, it sounds like. Christina?
Yeah, thanks. Okay, I'm gonna touch on a couple of things. For what I do for work, it's about, yes, biking and walking, but it's really accessibility and mobility for all. So what I'm hearing from everybody with multi-purpose and wanting it to do, what comes to mind is focusing on mobility or universal mobility. So we are, and for complete streets, it's walking and biking, but it's for everybody. My husband drives trucks, so I often bring that
perspective into the conversation. We want it to like be balanced. Be balanced. We want it to be balanced. So if we're focusing on universal mobility, also Julie had mentioned, multi-purpose, and from a transportation perspective, I'm thinking of that transformable. So if you're going over 44, we can reverse lanes in an emergency situation where everybody is coming out. So there's ways that we can do that. And I think in addition to the Riverfront specific plan, making sure that whatever design for transportation we're doing, we also are adding in a pedestrian evacuation plan along that line so that everybody knows their roles during those. Because there are some other egress spaces, but they're just not publicly known, but they would be available for emergencies. So everybody understands where they can go and that we are safe and we have those options.
Right. We will definitely have a mobility element to the specific plan. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
Did you have more? or-
I will, but I'll wait if something else comes.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Who hasn't spoken yet? Danica, are you ready to contribute? Here?
Yeah, I don't have much more than what's already been said in your overview of the open houses and all the bullet points that the community has already brought up. As a business owner on the southern end of Park Marina, we really try to leverage the river. So we're right there on the water. So we've taken that into our strategy as a business where our clients come in, they see the river and they park, but they come in and our floor to ceiling windows, they can see the river there. So that's always just some great feedback we've gotten from our clients. So we've leveraged that. So I think it's all about finding the balance of how we can bring that money down there, bring the people, utilize those spaces and keep in mind, the environmental impact and honoring the culture and the nature around it.
Okay. So the people that are coming to your facility, are they from the local area? Are they from out of town? A mix of the two?
Oh, yeah, absolutely a mix. We have a huge clientele. We've been in business 20 years and we've been in Park Marina for 11 years. So it's a big local clientele, but tourists absolutely too on the weekends, driving through. We get a lot of, websites, social media interests. So coming from out of town as well.
Just curious, where do you tell people to go when they're coming from out of town, they're visitors, and they say, well, what's happening in Reading? Where can we go? What are some of the interesting?
Yeah,
places
absolutely. Turtle Bay, the Sheraton. So we make those recommendations with everything that's gone on downtown. Park Marina is not far from there. So we have a lot of good things to recommend.
Okay, great, fantastic. Okay, let's see. We'll go to Leslie.
Yeah, I'll echo certainly what everyone has said, but I think this is a really unique opportunity we have as a community to really take our community and face it back to the riverfront. I feel like a lot of the building that's happened has taken place and our backs are sort of built to it. So I think that this is just a unique opportunity to be able to sort of rethink what we want that to look like. Certainly connecting just to downtown too with the new retail development, economic growth that's happening in downtown, be able to let that trickle out into the rest of this extended downtown space and make that feel like one, because it certainly is walkable and connectable if people know how to get there. But if you're a visitor from out of town, it's a little bit difficult to navigate right now. So I think that's important.
Okay.
And a balance, like everyone said, there's a balance. I think there is a way to get everything that we've talked about into this space in some way, shape, or form.
That's true. I mean, it's a very large area, so we should be able to plan it well and accommodate these different things and still protect the environmental resources all at the same time. I'm pretty confident we can achieve that. Let's see, looking at Josh, maybe you could go next. You have some ideas here to put into the mix?
I'll definitely throw this into the mix. So I'm here on behalf of the Community Services Advisory Commission that works with, parks, a lot of, like for instance, the convention center falls under, some of the things we do. And we're also in the middle of kind of figuring out what to do with South City Park. So there's a lot of things happening in Reading. This is just one of them. This is probably the biggest one. But I don't want to reiterate a lot of the things that have been said, but a number of things kind of strike me. First and foremost, Reading's changed a lot. If you look at what's happened in the downtown area just in the last even 5 years. I mean, and there's a lot of things that have made Reading a better place to live. Like, for instance, just the restaurant scene in the last decade has become completely different than it was when I moved here in 2005. Way better, well, and my point is really this is I think that there are people involved in this process, at the tables here in the community that want to get things done. I haven't heard anybody say, let's turn this into San Antonio and have a massive boardwalk with the Santa Monica Pier at the end of it. So I get the sense that there's a lot of just great creative ideas. I like somebody was talking earlier about having more artistic type things, involved. And I think there's a really good opportunity to make this area as special as downtown is already becoming. So, so I'll bring a little bit of, from the Parks and Rec side of things, and maybe some reminders of things that are going on there, because there's some pretty big things happening in Reading on that instance to contribute to, the ideas that get generated at this, at this coalition meeting.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah, I can see how that fits together. So downtown, you mentioned a couple of times. What do you really like about what's happening in downtown? I'm just curious.
Well, okay, so for instance, the Dickers building that used to have Need for Speed in it. You wouldn't even think, if you looked at that area now, that there was just a big open warehousey building there for the last, I don't know, how long was the Dickers building here for? 80 years, something like that. And now all of a sudden you've got apartments, you have like little boutique shops. There was a store that was dedicated just to selling plants. Reading's not really the type of place that traditionally would probably have a store that was, just selling plants, but it's becoming more user-friendly. You can walk around, there used to be the Cascade Theater, but if you really wanted to go and get something to eat and you couldn't wait for Jack's, or you couldn't wait for one of the other 2 restaurants around here, your night included, well, I guess we got to go eat over at Hilltop, and then we got to come back over here to do the play. We went and saw a concert, I can't remember, 2 weeks ago, something like that. And we were able to park, walk, get something to eat, go to the concert, and then just kind of hang out downtown afterwards. There were lights on. I wish that the umbrellas were back, but I understand those things broke. But it's becoming a place where you don't live there and work here and buy your car there. It's like, there's more things happening. Yeah. Downtown Reading is becoming kind of a cool little area.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, and many things you said and others too, we don't have to try to be somebody else. You have a unique set of assets here, the conditions that create an environment all of its own. And there's no need to try to duplicate.
I'll give you a for instance. The downtown there is probably going to be a new park called the Whistle Stop Park, and that's downtown, and that harkens back to when this was a whistle stop tour. Part of that old west, old timey. Yeah, because we're not hey dude, that kind of California up here. We're a totally different part of California. And there's a rich heritage that can be drawn on from that history. And a lot of people up here have done a pretty good job of maintaining the history. And so, it's not just that we have a rodeo in town, it's that this is traditionally the type of community that had rodeos. So there's a lot of things to draw on to make this special.
Exactly. Great. Thank you. Very good comments. Ben, I think we are waiting to hear your thoughts here.
Sure. I'll round it out here.
All right.
So we bring about 275 high school students and their parents to this area of South Park Marina. And as an operator of a property down there, I'm really thankful for where we're at. I teach a fishing class. That sounds like a strange thing in a high school, but I'm on year 4 of my fishing class. And so I take my students over to Kutra's Park and we cast there. You'll see fly rod slinging this spring. We go across the street to the launch ramp and we cast fly rods right there. And I talk up to the students about the great assets, having a science background, talking about the wonderful resources there of nature. I really love what I'm hearing. I'm less worried about the Park Marina corridor at this point for my students' safety because the city added a school crossing. But I still see a lot of people blowing through there way too fast. And so what I hear resonates. I like what I'm hearing. This is great. The mixed use, the drawing people down in there. The narrowness, though, is going to be a challenge. I would love to see our students not have to go other places to work. I would love to see them come to the school and then go work. But there's not a lot of businesses that appeal to teens. I can tell you that the dollar store, 99 cents or whatever the small amount is, that's where they go buy their sugar. And I would rather, they like San Francisco Deli, but it's a little pricey. So seeing those opportunities, when the venue there at Movies 8 was going to be transformed into an activity center, I was a little bit excited about that. I can tell you, I would actually like to buy it, but that's a lot of money. I love that parking lot. Speaking of parking, oh my gosh, it goes forever. But the homeless issue that was dealt with there, I was part of that solution because our families were greatly worried about the danger it was posed. And so that property really, to me, has a great opportunity, both with parking that we're lacking in that area, but then also is just a great revenue generating stream. If I could afford to buy it, I'd develop it and rent it out to the community. We'd do some stuff, but that's a few million more than we have. So anyway, just in summation, I think I really love this discussion, but we need to be able to both generate revenue and increase tourist activity because this is an amazing place and we need to utilize that.
Interesting. And Ben, is your school in this area?
Yeah, we didn't get marked.
Yeah.
See the little circle? Just go from Marina RV Park, go due west. Yep, that's Movies 8. So we're just a skosh south.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Good.
South and east. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I remember the aqua golf too, or the
Aqua golf.
golf, not aqua golf, but the mini golf.
Right.
So much fun.
Okay. Cameron.
Aqua golf. So yeah, in terms of the Asphalt Cowboys, we've been there for 70 years on site and we're the second oldest tenant. I mean that collectively, I haven't been anywhere close, but I think what we're looking for, and we're one of we probably have the smallest footprint of the nonprofit tenants that occupy the public space to the north. And really for us, it is, I mean, it's a number of factors. I think one for us is a little bit of aesthetics, especially over on our western portion there. A lot of it too is logistical, which we deal with pretty frequently in terms of circulation, that secondary access, but also as well in terms of talking about parking. Always say I joined the club for the parking, but I stay for the food. And I think the other one too is, this really is and has been for a lifetime, the city's, civic center in terms of where a lot of our major events occur. And between the events, the Rodeo Association with the rodeo grounds, that arena over at Advanced Reading, and now the Sheraton, Turtle Bay, it really is the premier public area for events. And we certainly need to address it in that regard. I think, again, that circulation is a factor. Parking is a big one, because it's really not only just a draw citywide in the greater Reading area, but even regionally. I think we need to be looking at that mobility once people are in and down there. Once you can get in and park, you still have a ways to go sometimes to get to your venue. You want to make sure that's done a little bit better, but we need for people to be able to come down and have a place to park as well. If they don't have the spot to do that, we're not gonna have the draw. But I think for us, again, aesthetics is part of it, making sure it's still the kind of entertainment and event center with all those various uses, and makes it easier for all of us to be able to kind of have to share the land. Sometimes we've got one organization's having a large event or the other, sometimes two at once. Make sure we've got a good canvas that we can all work with to be able to facilitate that. We brought some of our events down to the rodeo grounds from downtown that used to be downtown, our street dance, our quick draw, chili cook-off, other things. So we want to make sure that's right now, some of those we're just having in our parking lot. Like to see something a little bit better aesthetically, be able to put those on and do that. But I think, keeping that aesthetic, the tradition, and, highlighting the history as some of the others have brought up. And last one really is the public safety aspect, and really making sure that's a safe area. We've had to button the place up pretty well here recently to try and make sure we've kept it safe. And if we're going to bring families and people down there, want to make sure it's something that's a safe area to do so.
Excellent. And just a question, what's the origin of Asphalt Cowboys, the name and how you all got started?
Nobody here wants me to talk for too long, I guarantee it. Basically, we are an incarnation of the sheriff's posse, and was really started too as an arm of the Chamber of Commerce. So it started with some chamber members, none of which I think at the time had a horse or owned one. So Asphalt Cowboys was the moniker, but we are actually an arm of the sheriff's department. We're all reserve sworn deputies. We get badges. It doesn't mean a lot, trust me. They got little donkeys on them. It doesn't go very far. But that's me. Hey, I haven't robbed a bank since May. I want to make that clear. But yeah, so that's where we come. But our main thing too is that he did it. It was him, not me. But our main thing is our charter is to promote the rodeo and promote rodeo week. So we hold about a dozen events that we put on during rodeo week, but others throughout the year. Had our barbecue a few weeks ago, and I'm 90% recovered from that. So
Excellent. Thank you for the history there. It's good to know. Let's see if I think we've got to everybody at least once. So are there additional comments that maybe come to mind? I know Jocelyn, you want to chime in?
So I wanted to chime in regards to hotel, retail, and parking. So right now, is the vacant hotel on your property, Chris? Okay, so this is my thoughts. If we could, the Sheraton is beautiful, but we don't have any other elegant hotels in this area. And then people are going to go to Hilltop. The other hotels downtown, they may have gotten a new paint job, but I can tell you from countless people who have said they're awful. They're not remodeled. So they might look nice from outside, but if we had the opportunity to tear down that hotel that also had a restaurant, we could build a competitive hotel to the Sheraton that's also beautiful, that brings more tourists. And competition is always good for every business.
Sure.
So having a beautiful hotel, then now retail, you all need to talk to the doctors' wives, because you want doctors to stay here. The doctors' wives are not happy. They are the ones that are telling the doctors to leave. So we have no BMW, we have no Lexus, no Mercedes, no Tesla. So where are they spending their money? They're spending it out of town. Where are they spending their money for retail? Out of town. So our local doctors are not spending their money here. The men want to bike here. Their wives do not want to stay here. So you want to find that out, talk to the doctors' wives. But, and not that I want those dealerships down along the river, but Reading has never had those, and they have prevented them from being here. But look at how much we are losing because we are not having high-end retail for our residents. And then second, parking structure. We just built a beautiful high-rise parking structure downtown. Why are we not utilizing that across from the Civic Center? There's a huge parking lot. You could start building another high-rise parking structure there, and that solves your parking problem. And then you're not using land that could be utilized for something else.
Okay.
So I'm just saying there's a lot of opportunities here to have a competitive, beautiful hotel that brings more tourists right to the area we are talking about. And you could have a restaurant that's on the river because it could be right behind it, and beautiful. You've got the house in the center of the water that could be turned into a beautiful bar and or historical site of some sort. It's been there for I don't know how long. Maybe Chris can speak to that. But
Right.
there's so many opportunities that doesn't take up additional land or change it in a way that the hotel's already there, but it's run down and so put a different hotel there that's beautiful. Bring someone in to put that in.
All right, we'll look into all of those ideas. A lot of passion there, a lot of
I just want to make
enthusiasm.
one quick comment.
Chris?
I think we could do something with the county on variance on weekends
Mhm.
for the parking lot in the south area. It came up before. And that might be an opportunity to cure some of that congestion.
Some kind of a joint management approach to that. Okay.
Yeah, I think the county would be receptive to that.
Yeah, using all the resources we have here efficiently, effectively.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I just think, cause it's, you know, like I said about connectivity, whether it's bikes,
Yeah.
trails, changing the road itself, which we've been talking
Right.
about with the city for quite some time.
Okay,
That road around concept, boulevard.
yeah. Okay, let's see, Christina, I see you wanting to.
Yeah, I can just add on a couple of things I mentioned. Because our outcome is really going to be the guiding principles, I wanted to make sure that we
Right.
have language in there that we are using best practices. And making sure it kind of goes into we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's amazing people that have studied and great models that show us how to have that balance. So just to ensure that we lean into best practices and also being innovative in our space. I'm so glad that you said that about the parking. I think with events, there's such an opportunity. If you ever go to Napa Bottle Rock, you park a little far away and they bus you in for those events. There's lots of ways that we can have parking for every day, but for those bigger events where we can do all of it, we can get innovative with other existing parking in the area and get different transportation modes to help get people back and forth in those spaces.
Very good. Okay, excellent. Well, I think we've covered the issues really well, and some great points have come up to augment what we heard in the open houses and interviews. We're going to be putting all this together and feeding it back to all of you in some kind of a form that you can react to. And the idea is to put this on paper so we have some starting points, some directions that will help to guide the rest of the specific plan process. And our consultant said we have on board in economics, transportation, for example, also for environmental science and ecology. We're going to be getting them activated here in the weeks and months ahead as well. So with that, we're going to turn to our
Daniel,
community members.
I think
Oh,
it's worth
sorry.
noting and talking to my friend Ryan here that there has to be a balance and a recognition between public and private property ownership, right? People have brought up that Montgomery Ward's building, that was Ryan reminded me, that's gonna all be built out. That parking's all set for building, it's got building pads and it's, that probably is not an option.
Yeah, at this point,
Yeah.
no, we're not gonna be able to just go in, running roughshod over any of these
Right,
projects.
but even in planning, you have to take all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's again, there's only so much we can do as public planning processes to, there has to be a partnership with private landowners to make this work. That's for sure. And that's where we set the rules through the specific plan. The rules don't have to be too prescriptive. They can allow for a lot of flexibility as well, which a lot of property owners want that when they consider how to move forward with their individual property. So we have to be very cognizant of those issues to be sure. Rebecca, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about possibly working with California Fish and Wildlife. I know that has to be done at a later. There comes a point where you don't have a choice when I guess you guys put it phase 4. But I think it would be beneficial if you guys collaborated with them before.
Earlier
on than when it comes down to the very end and then they say things that, you're going to have to change plan. Right. Because all of this sounds great and wonderful. And I'm gonna have to be the Debbie Downer or I
Right.
wouldn't be doing my job.
Right.
But there has to be buffer zones between the river. And California Fish and Wildlife, they have experts and scientists
Sure.
that can tell you exactly in each area what kind of buffer zone you need
Yeah.
to protect the riverfront.
Yeah.
So,
We intend to bring that into play to be
so
sure.
I think the sooner that you guys collaborate with them or that bring them into the conversation, I think the better.
Yeah, very good idea. Yeah, we will be doing that. Okay, so with that, we have a lot of folks here this evening and we want to give some time for them to voice their comments as well. I got some, here we are, some speaker cards. And so I can call people up and if you want to track those, Jeremy. We'll get anyone who wishes to speak a chance to do so. And the only thing is I have to be able to read these. So let me ask my colleague here, Dan, what do you have there, Dan?
It looks like Dolores Lucero.
Okay. All right. Why don't you come up there? We've got a microphone. Jeremy, is that turned on?
Right.
Okay,
Thanks.
let's give everyone our attention. Dolores, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Dolores Lucero. I actually moved I lived in Los Angeles for years before I moved to San Francisco. When I moved there, I was there 10 years when I bought my house, and then I sold my house to move here because I wanted to move here because it was a, smaller place, better, place to raise your children. But from what I'm gathering here, what you're talking about is making Shasta County, Redding, or whatever area you're looking at to make this to like the city I moved away from. And, I feel like, how can you guys all sit here and talk about making the city a better place when you haven't even solved the homeless? You've got a lot of issues before you could build. You got homeless. Who's going to pay for if you build whatever you're planning to build here? Who's going to pay for those taxes? Is the citizens that are going to pay for it? And also, I understand that Tanissa basically said that if you guys don't decide on whatever decision you make, it actually becomes a surplus land, and that's a call AB 2135. That means you only could sell it or sell it or lease it for affordable housing. So, and is K2 involved on this project? And also, I know a lot of you have other positions that you hold. Are you going to be voting on this issue when it comes in front of you? Because that would be a conflict. You have to recuse yourself because you were involved on this issue already. So I'm, and why on this list, I see that you have only three people here on this list that doesn't have any kind of business or any kind of interest on this deal here. And most of you have McConnell Foundation, you got Turtle Bay, you got the Window, you got a lot of people who have a interest in this business here because it is a business. If you all get involved and make a decision of what to do here, you all going to benefit. How come you don't have more residents involved in this issue? Because it actually is going to have an impact on all the people, not just you. And so my concern is this goes on all the time. Government corruption is huge. And sometimes you guys don't even know when you commit a conflict of interest. And I'm trying to address the issues that I see that has been going on for years and nobody brings that up. Like the McConnell Foundation, Turtle Bay, also I think Middleton. And, I see a lot of you having interest. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I think that I feel that you are just going through the motion to eventually to sell this property to do what you need to do, affordable housing. And I think that all agencies should not be involved in this. Should be the community because these are agencies.
Okay.
Agencies.
Very good. Thank you very much, Dolores. Appreciate your comments and we'll keep those in the record. Who is it? Running. Okay. All right.
just for the benefit of all of us here, we aren't as official as in council chambers. We are using an iPhone timer. So when you hear that noise, the 3 minutes is up, and appreciate you guys adhering to that. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, for the record, my name's Roneen Lund. Excuse me. Anyway, I really appreciate all of the comments tonight. I think it went really well. I didn't know how it was going to be pulled off in such a short period of time. But anyway, I appreciate everything that was said. But I would like to put some food for thought out there for the commission members. One is I went to the first public meeting and somebody brought out that there should be a theme. And I think the theme should be the river, and, you know, everything should be around that. And I did meet with one of the consultants, and she mentioned that, you know, when she drives into the area and into Reading and into the Sundial Bridge area, she didn't even know there was a river there, you know, and this is all about the riverfront. So it seems like the theme should be the river, and all of the businesses and you know, all the activities and everything else should revolve around the river. I also have a comment that, you know, we want to consider our local families and families that can't take their kids, you know, can't afford to take their kids to Disneyland. You know, they come to the river, they might fish, they might walk the trails, whatever. And so in the planning process, we can't have everything high end, you know, high end retail, high end food. We have to have some, you know, accommodations for locals, low income families that bring, you know, they bring their 5 kids and they might be down at the Sundial, either fishing or hiking. And, you know, maybe we could have rotating food trucks or something like that. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay.
Access to the trail system is really important to me. The Sundial Bridge and the trail system, maintaining access to that. You know, so if we get it all built out and we have parking, a garage and all that, you know, keeping it in the ownership in the hands of the city is very important in my mind. You know, we don't want to sell it to a private party and have them, you know, decrease our access to that area. And although the Caltrans representative didn't mention this, Park Marina is a thoroughfare and it's a connector between one side of town and the other. And I just don't see how that, you know, we have to keep it as a thoroughfare because we don't have another option. Just so I throw that out. And in the economic evaluation, I think it should include staffing for security or policing crew in the long run for the, you know, the area. And one last thing, I'm on the board of Anderson Cottonwood Irrigation District. And I just want to mention, I don't know, Jeremy, if you could go up there and just point out on the Sundial Bridge side. Yeah, so up there, the canal starts, well, really quickly. So, you know, there's a little bit of land here that can open up. And then it's the canal here. And although it's not in the project area, there is an potential opportunity down the road for ACID to partner with the city to use that as, you know, biking, hiking, and other things. So anyway, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Very good. Okay, we have Bill Walker is the next speaker. Go ahead, Bill.
Hi. First of all, thank you for holding this meeting and having all of these representatives here. I would like to note that the only tribal representative apparently had to leave. So we haven't heard any tribal voice here tonight, and I think that's really important.
We agree.
My name is Bill Walker. I was a planner for 36 years. I'm now retired. I worked for 30 years with Shasta County. I'm a member of the American Planning Association and a former member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. I get a lot of planning magazines and emails, and riverfront plans have been popular for at least the last 30 years, as you probably know. Examples include San Antonio, which somebody brought up, but all over the country, there are riverfront plans. Philadelphia, Baltimore, there's a whole long list, people in Colorado. There are also riverfront, urban riverfronts all around the world, Paris, Rome, London. This is not an urban riverfront. And that's really, really important. It's not an urban riverfront. We need a deeper vision that reflects this particular site. The most important word we have tonight is river. Unless everything keeps coming back to river, we're losing it. It's not about the economy. It's not about tourism. I mean, those are important. But this is about the river. If it weren't for the river, we wouldn't be here right now. So I believe this is a wildlife habitat, cultural resource, and community gathering riverfront. This does not need more large commercial development or tourist development. I'm not opposed to upgrading what we have that's existing, but we don't need any more big tourist or commercial developments in this area. The river is what's here. That's the unique thing about this site. There's plenty of other places in Reading, Hilltop Drive, to put large commercial and tourist development. We don't need it right here. The river is what we need to focus on here. So please don't build more commercial, recreational, tourist facilities and then try to find a few little corners to cram bird nesting boxes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have Susan Murray is the next speaker. If you would like to come up to our podium microphone, please.
Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I appreciate it. For the last 30 years, I have lived in a unique old neighborhood that is nestled in the downtown area of Reading, the Garden Tract. As the older generations move away, they go into assisted living care or they die. That leaves a younger generation to take our place and to move into the homes we left behind to raise their families like we did. I did not realize how many new families with young children have moved into my neighborhood until I attended National Night Out on Gold Street the other week. Whenever major changes occur that might directly impact the Garden Tract, I get concerned. My concern is for the influx of traffic that the general plan and the riverfront specific plan will most likely bring into the Garden Tract. People already on South Street, Garden Avenue, Continental Street, and Gold Street, etc., find it necessary to put up signs stating, "Slow down, children at play." People on South Street find it very difficult to back out of their driveways due to traffic, and some are so tired of the situation of the racing up to and beyond the stop sign on South Street and Garden Avenue that they have sold their houses to move to a quieter neighborhood. I believe that there is a need to keep the city of Reading moving in the right direction and to provide our city with what it needs and what it can bear. Please make the right decisions with the Garden Tract in mind and what an impact your decision will have. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much. Okay, well, with that, we are ready to wrap up tonight's meeting. The next meeting of the coalition is going to be October 23rd, so 2 weeks from tonight. Same room, same channel, and same venue. And we hope to see you all here. Thank you very much. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. All right. Have a great evening, everybody.